It can involve activities such as conserving historic landmarks, promoting cultural traditions, preserving important artifacts, and above all, fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation for one's cultural and natural legacy. That is what we are here to do today, to ensure that we foster that deeper understanding of our culture. Please open your minds and receive all that shall be given to you today. Thanks.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Thompson, for that insightful message. All right, so we will proceed according to the program, and I just want to say that this event would not be possible without the help of the Institute of Jamaica. I want to acknowledge them, the staff, the hardworking staff here at Jamaica. They have provided the venue to us, and we are very appreciative that we can come and utilize the facilities here. And also to acknowledge OCM Productions. They have always partnered with us as we put on activities to preserve the heritage of Jamaica. And I just want to acknowledge OCM for partnering with us again this year on this occasion. Now, there are several activities that we are having to mark our Heritage Month celebration. This lecture is the first of the two lectures. The second lecture will be on October 24, and that will be at Sam Sharp Teachers College in Montego Bay. And the presenter will be looking at the same topic, celebrating the proud legacy and heritage of Rastafari. The lecturer for that presentation will be Dr. Jalani Nair. So persons will be invited to come to Sam Sharp Teachers College on October 24 to participate in that lecture. We have also restarted tours of Headquarters House. Headquarters House is the corporate offices of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, located at 79 Duke Street. So if you want to take a heritage tour, welcome you to come in and tour Headquarters House, learn of the legacies and the history of that house. We have also restarted tours at National Heroes Park to mark the Heritage Month celebration. So if you have not yet booked your tours for National Heroes Park or Headquarters House, please do so. All right, you can speak with my assistant outside. Her name is Stacy Parker. All right, so at this time, on the program, we have welcome and opening remarks from our Executive Director, Mrs. Michelle Creed Nelson. However, she had some urgent matters to deal with this morning, and she sends her apology. She would love to be here to see your bright faces and to see the number of students who come out to this lecture. So I will read her message. Dr. Clinton Hutton, our main presenter and director of the Institute of Technological and Educational Research at the Michael University College, teachers, students, specially invited guests, members of the Rastafarian community, ladies and gentlemen, pleasant morning to you all and welcome to this lecture. It is a pleasure to have you here this morning celebrating Heritage Month with us. Today, we are celebrating the proud legacy and heritage of Rastafari. The Jamaica National Heritage Trust has declared October Heritage Month and continues to plan activities to teach and inspire Jamaicans about the rich culture and heritage of our people. One of the cultural aspects of our people that the Jamaica National Heritage Trust is instrumental in preserving is the culture of Rastafari at Pinnacle in St. Catherine. We believe that the legacy that Leonard HOWELL, the first Rastafarian, left behind is worthy of protecting under Jamaica National Heritage Trust Act of 1985. To date, one lot at Pinnacle has been declared, and we are in the process of acquiring all 5 lots. When that is achieved, we will start the development process, which will see the 1. Creation of a new and unique heritage product, which will aid in increased visitorship and spending. 2. Increased earning potential of community members through increased visits to the community and diversified employment opportunities. 3. Promotion of cultural retention and preservation through the creation of performance-based the documentation of those cultural elements. 4. Increased visitor safety and security through infrastructure and development. And 5, and final, promotion and protection of Jamaica's natural and cultural heritage, which will aid human and capacity building through tour guiding and Team Jamaica training. I do hope that you will gain closer insight into the Rastafarian culture presented here today and be inspired. Once again, welcome you all to enjoy and always remember to embrace your heritage. So that is from Mrs. Michelle Creed Nelson. And I'd like to invite the first speaker, Mr. Dwayne Harris. He is our public education officer, and he will be making his presentation on Rastafari sites in Jamaica. Now, we will have a question and answer section, and that will take place after our main presenter, Dr. Hutton, does his presentation. At this time, I welcome Mr. Harris to do his presentation. Please help me with the
Good morning, everyone. This is from St. Louis. Can you hear me to the back? It's okay? All right. From Holy Childhood. Can you hear me? All right. Well, it's good to see you, your numbers, teachers, colleagues, our guest lecturer, Dr. Hutton. Right, so today I'll be presenting on basically Rastafari historic sites. Now, since 1933, only 90 years ago, Rastafari has taken root in Jamaica and I would argue has become part of our heritage. So this presentation basically seeks to look at some of the places where significant developments took place and as far as Rastafari is concerned, and what I would say led to its development. Now, normally when we at the Heritage Trust talk about historic sites, we are talking about places that have a long history, like Fort Royal, Spanish Town, great houses, forts, places where national heroes were born and that kind of thing. But everything I'm going to be speaking about is within the last 90 years, so it's pretty much very right. No, so basically, when we're talking about historic sites, we're talking about places where important things, for this presentation, places where important things happen as far as Rastafari, the development of Rastafari is concerned. So, let us begin. In 1933, a gentleman by the name of Leonard Howell, he got the idea that the Haile Selassie of the Emperor of Ethiopia, whose former name was Rastafari Makane, was divine and was the returned Messiah. And so this new idea that he had, he went around several places in Kingston and Jamaica and was, basically preaching this idea. And as a result of this, a number of people began to follow him. And of course, with this following and with this strange new idea that came about, there were many problems and tension. So in 1940, he established the first Rastafarian community, right? These people, initially some of them were called HOWELLites, but because they were talking about Rastafari, people decided to call them Rastafarian, Rasta, that type of thing. So he established a community that was called Pinnacle in St. Catherine. As the name suggests, it's a pinnacle. It's on top of the hill in near Sligoville in St. Catherine. Now, he was the leader of this community. His word was pretty much law. He governed the community with a group of elders. And Leonard Howell, who we can say is the first Rastafarian, believed in the ideas of Marcus Garvey about self-reliance. So they believed that they should produce their own goods and to earn money and that kind of thing. No, this was not because they just like the idea of earning their own money, but because they face a lot of discrimination. So people would necessarily want to employ them or that kind of thing. So it was necessary for them to want to earn their own money. So they farmed, they had craft items and other things. They had a bakery. So the men and women who lived at Pinnacle, some sources say over 500, some say over 1,000, lived on this large piece of land that was about 500 acres. There are different accounts as to exactly how big it was, but many persons lived on the land and they lived together. It was a place of spiritual meditation and all of that kind of thing. So the craftspeople made their items, sold it, and got money to finance their own needs. Now, because Rastafari was so different and so strange to the establishment, the people who rule the country, the settlement that was made at Pinnacle, the first Rastafarian community, was often raided by police, under the guise of looking for ganja and that kind of thing. And in 1954, the place was, could you go back please? The place was destroyed. It was raided and it was destroyed. And all the Rastafarians scattered across different places in Jamaica. And it scattered. Some went to Trinity Park in St. Catherine, some went to West Kingston and other places. So because of this, Rastafarian scattered. Now, Pinnacle is significant as far as Rastafari is concerned because that was the first Rasta community that was really learned about self-reliance and separating themselves, living in their own space where they were free to express themselves and their views. And and of course, the destruction of Pinnacle by the police was one of the rallying cry of many Rastafarians to this day to say, see, the police don't love us, they're always attacking us and trying to destroy who we are. Now, eventually, not much remains of Pinnacle today. If we could go back, it was built on the site of a great house and an estate building, but most of that has been destroyed. Today, there is a big, huge tabernacle, that's what the Rastafarians call it. It's made of thatch, and many ceremonies and things take place. The Rastafarians regard Pinnacle as sacred ground because that was where the first Rastafarian community developed. Now, the fact that Pinnacle was destroyed became a vexed issue for many Rastafarians, and there would often be protests and many outspoken words about the destruction of Pinnacle. But while all of this was happening, the land fell into private developers who also wanted it and started to subdivide the land and sell to people and that kind of thing. So Rastafarians started to copy a movement that was in America called Occupy Wall Street. There was also Occupy Pinnacle, and there many protests and that kind of thing. Eventually, and I'll come back to it later, Pinnacle about in 2018 or 19 or thereabout was declared a heritage site. Now you see this monument right here. At the top of it is a flat disc, and there's a map of Jamaica on it. Now at the Jamaica National Heritage Trust, when a place is declared a national heritage site, one of these things is placed there, and it symbolizes that the Jamaican National Heritage Trust, the government of Jamaica, sees this place as a very important place to the history and heritage of Jamaica. I'll come back to Pinnacle later. So that is that. Now, following the destruction of Pinnacle, Rastafarians lived all over parts of Kingston and St. Catherine and all over St. Thomas, especially we see in West Kingston and Trenchtown. And it is here that the movement developed even further in a place, in West Kingston, people call HOWELL, which was eventually demolished to make room for what is now Tivoli Gardens. And in Trenchtown, a lot of Rastafarians were there. Even Bob Marley, that was where he lived, and several other musicians and celebrities came under the influence of many Rastafarian elders and converted to Rastafari. So Kingston, several places in Kingston became important centers for the development of Rastafari. Next. Another very important place that developed as far as Rastafari is concerned, at a very important historic site, is Bubble Hill a place called Bubble Hill at Bull Bay, St. Andrew. And I had the privilege of visiting it last week. And it's high above this, looking down, looking over the community of Bull Bay. And you can see part of Kingston. The formal name of Bubble Hill is the Ethiopian African Black International Congress of True Divine Church of Salvation. It's a very long name. Right, we just call it Bubble Hill from now. Right, so this is a very important site. Next, it was developed by a man called Emmanuel Charles Edwards, who many people now call Prince Emmanuel. And this was developed in 1958. So this is a very important historic site as far as Rastafari is concerned. The first site where Rastafarians lived together in a community was what? Pinnacle in which parish? St. Catherine, yes man. And the second one now is Bubble Hill in St. Andrew, right? In 1958. No, Pinnacle was destroyed and there is not a community there, etc., etc. But Bubble Hill still exists today. People still live there. It's a real place. I went there last week. So very importantly, it's the longest, in terms of the most continuous Rastafarian community. And when I went there, the Rastas there were very keen to tell me that it existed before Jamaica became independent. So they're older than Jamaica. No. So this was the main gate from pedestrians to walking, and it has the nice name and stuff there all over. Next, so it was started, as I indicated, by Prince Emmanuel. It's called Prince Emmanuel, and next he is seen as the father. He is no longer with us in the land of the living, but Prince Emmanuel is part of what the Bubba Rasta, some of us call it Bubba Shanti. Part of their Holy Trinity. Next, part of their Holy Trinity. Prince Emmanuel is seen as the Holy Priest, and Marcus Garvey is seen as the Holy Prophet, and Haile Selassie I, the Emperor of Ethiopia, is seen as the Holy King. So, in Christianity, we have Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. In the Bubba Shanti order of Rastafari, there is their Trinity, the Holy Priest, Prince Emmanuel, the Holy Prophet, Marcus Garvey, and Haile Selassie, the Holy King. And when I went there, I recognized this sign, this artwork was placed right there at the front of it, so you had to pay tribute to it. It's a very interesting experience I had. When I went, it was way up, I came off the main road, then I went up to Wise Road, and then after where everybody lived, I drove up to a place where there's no human life until I reached up to the top. No, when I got there and I went in, I realized everybody was called priests. So as a matter of fact, I met a man because I became very concerned. I met a Rastafarian coming down, and he indicated to me that he was priest something. I don't remember his name. And when I go up, I should have priest X and priest Y. And so everybody, and no, I found very interesting. It says black Jamaica. This is a prominent sign there. They see themselves not as Jamaicans, but they see themselves as Ethiopians, and their compound was an embassy of the Ethiopian government or of Africa. And Egypt, I was later told that Egypt is Jamaica. Anywhere that a person's black people is Egypt, because that's how the ancient Egyptians oppressed the ancient Israelites. Next. Right, so this is just some scenery there. There were several flags. I can't remember what they symbolized now, but I noticed that there were no Jamaican flags there, which I will get back to later. Now, very interestingly, as you can see, the colors are very prominent, the red, green, and gold. And one of the subtle differences I noted about the Bobo Shanti was that the red was on top, right? In the regular Ethiopian flag, it's the green that's on top. But in the Bobo Shanti order, it's the red that's on top and the green at the bottom. And I asked somebody from another Rastafari group what it meant, and they said that the red on top it symbolized war. So when they are constantly fighting a spiritual battle for existence in Jamaica. That was the explanation I got. Now, this group is very this group is very religious. They're considered to be the priestly order and of Rastafari. This is a new building that they have there, very huge building. When I asked, they said it was the Tabernacle of Moses. Very big building, and from there you can open up the sea and so forth. One of the things that struck me when I went there, cordial the men were. I didn't see any women. I didn't venture too far into the community. But I had to pray. Now, I'm a Christian and I'm in an obvious Rastafarian environment. What do I say? So I said, no, you pray. He said, no, I should pray. But I had to empty my pockets. I had lots of stuff in my shirt and my pants. I emptied everything except my wallet. And I had to turn my back to it and face the east, and both of us prayed something, and at the end of it, they said Holy Emmanuel's last year and a number of other things. That was very interesting. So I had to pray at the beginning and when I was leaving. So they're very strict. Now, they're known to be strictly vegetarian, vegans, and known to smoke only in private. This gentleman, he allowed me to take his picture. He was simply going to Kingston, and I offered him a ride. And he was dressed, this was how he was dressed. A lot of them dressed in their robes and garments on a regular day, but their heads are, their locks, are tightly wrapped in a turban. So this is not the group of Rasta that's flashing their locks above. They're well put together, wrist, everything. So this group has a number of famous sympathizers or members or followers who were in the music fraternity, for example, Sizzler Kalonji, Phantom Moja, Luton Fire, and Junior Reed. Right, so this is a separate group, so to speak. All right, so there are many different groups in Rastafari, and that is one of them. It's the second camp, but it's a camp that has been in existence for a long time. Now, next we go to another place that is of significance, Dr. Hutton. It's the University of the West Indies. Yes, I regard it as an important center for the development of Rastafari. Despite the fact that Rastafari was growing the nation out of problems, and some of us would argue that even today, that is the case. even though the most popular Jamaican today is a Rastafarian. Who is that? Bob Marley still Rastafarian. So, owing to the many problems with the police, even civilians were attacking Rastafarians and beating them and that kind of thing. A group of Rastafarians approached the University of West Indies to look into the matter, to do a study on the matter to see how they can, somehow present a better life, to give society a more understanding of Rastafari. So three university lecturers were doing this report. Right? I think right. So both of them are in except two of them are in except one. And so they produced this booklet, and the title of it was the Rastafari Movement in Kingston. And this was a major development for the Rastafarian movement. It showed a number of things. Right. First of all, it was one of the first scholarly study of Rastafari. So Rastafari was now getting scholarly attention. Scholars, bright people, big university lecturers now started looking into Rastafari and examining what it was, the history of it, what they believed, and that kind of thing. And they concluded that Rasta was not a threat to society, as many people believe. And they brought up a lot of ideas about Rastafarians wanting to repatriate to Africa and so forth. Now, out of this, every aspect of Rastafari has become something that people who study are concerned with. Rastafari dress, Rastafari hairstyle, Rastafari political ideas, Rastafarian women. How do they cope being Rastafarian? The Rastafarian diet. Everybody wants to be vegetarian and eat ideal food. Guess what? Rastafari music, Rastafari language. I read a book called Dread Talk, where the entire book is about how Rastafarians use their words and so forth. And of course, Rastafarian religious ideas. So out of this, more people began to study about Rastafarians, many of whom became leaders in society, Dr. Law and so forth. University lecturers became Rastafarian and all types of things. And even when I was a student at the University of West Indies in the 1990s, we studied about Rastafari ideas, and many Rastafari conferences and those things were held. So, no, this of course did not eliminate Rastafari prejudice, but it gave it some degree of acceptance and understanding. So, and of course, especially among people who became middle class and so forth. So, in a sense, it helped, and it's a very significant thing that took place as far as Rastafari, the development of Rastafari is concerned. It was seen as an alternative to the whiteness that was in Jamaica, the white ideas of God, the whiteness of salvation, the whiteness of religion, and all white standards of beauty, all these kinds of things. So Rastafari was good as far as that is concerned. Right, thank you very much. Now, our next place in Jamaica that was, I would argue, that was important to the development of Rastafari is a place called Coral Gardens in Montego Bay, St. James. And at this place, a very important development took place concerning Rastafari. It was called the Coral Gardens, some people call it the Coral Gardens Incident, the Coral Gardens, and some people call it Black Friday because it happened over an Easter weekend in 1963. Now, basically, there was a lot of tension in the society. By this time in 1963, Jamaica got independent, and the fact that Jamaicans were around in Jamaica didn't mean that the Rastafari life was any easier, because many of them are different set of people oppressing, or as the Spirit would say, don't oppressing them, right? So there was a lot of tension, a lot of prejudice, and right. So in Coral Gardens, a certain practical things had place. Now, there was a man by the name of Rudolph Franklin. Now, first of all, Carolina is in Montego Bay. Montego Bay is our second city known for tourism. So this is near Rosal and Shore area that was earmarked for tourism development. Some of the parents were living on the land doing some farming and things like that. But so the area is earmarked by the big boys, government, the people with the money and so forth. It's deeper on the land. So there's tension. So Rudolph Franklin, who occupied some of the land, he had a dispute with one of the managers for the estate, and he was shot several times. He was left for dead, but he survived. He went to he had surgery and everything, and then after that he was arrested at Ganja, and then when he came out, he vowed revenge on the person who shot him. So that was one man who happened to be favorite. No, very interesting. Not all these people at the time were RASTAFARI'S necessarily had drugs, but they were at the April 11. Mr. Franklin and a group of men armed with spears, hatchets, machetes, and other around the gas station where the person shot him was. There was a robbery. The gas station was set on fire. A number of persons were killed. Police were called in. Police tracked down those who were involved in it, killed those people. A few police were killed as well. But out of this situation, the media got wind of what happened, and the media publicized it and inflamed the situation. And basically was saying, well, these RASTAFARI'S are uprising, we need to get rid of these wicked, dangerous people, we need to kill them off. And so by April 12th, which was Good Friday, the first Prime Minister of Jamaica and national hero, Alexander Bustamante, gave an order that all RASTAFARI'S should be brought in dead or alive. And so this gave police basically free reign to go in. But in other parts of Montego Bay and Western Jamaica, where a lot of them were killed, tortured, their hair was forcibly shorn, cut off their hair with all kinds of things, and basically abused. Now, the importance of this, so we have a picture here of a Rasta man being manhandled by a group of police. I think I have the next one here. The importance of this incident, it became a big rallying cry for Rastafari to say, at Black Friday, we were brutalized by police. We didn't get any reparations. We didn't get any justice. Babylon, wicked, all kind of things. Every year there's been protests. And out of this situation, in 2007, and it's within our own lifetime, the government of Jamaica, led by a certain Andrew Holness, apologized to Rastafari for this incident that took place and offered compensation for people who were affected. No, this incident took place in 1963 and it was in 2017. Do the math, it's a long time. Other people have already died, suffered mentally, physically, financially, whatever. But they were now to be compensated. Many people have said it's not enough, etc., but the government apologized, offered financial compensation, and also recognized Pinnacle as a heritage site, and that the government would secure it for Rastafari. The first place that Rastafari. All right, and we go finally, I think, to the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, this is a very interesting organization that developed. It was, we know the first one developed, the first camp developed in 1940, and then we have also 1958 for, right, 1958 for the Bobo Shanti group here in Bulgaria. But now we're going to just look briefly at the 12 tribe. group. Now, this group developed in the 1960s, I think it was 1968, by a gentleman called, they called him Prophet God. His name was Vernon Carrington, and I think he was a musician by profession. And he founded the group called 12 Tribes of Israel. So the idea is that the 12 tribes of ancient Israel were scattered all abroad, but somehow mystically they were reunited in Jamaica, and his group was supposed to be the embodiment of that. And so if you could just go back, Mr. Miller, if you could go back to the first picture. This is the gates of 12 tribes. It's on Hope Road, right here in St. Andrew, just a stone throw away from the Bob Marley Museum. And you can see a number of colors. It's not just the Rastafarian colors, or the colors we are so, but all types of colors. Each tribe of ancient Israel. Not only that, each month of the year is assigned to a tribe. So whenever there are functions, so if I just say I'm from the tribe of Levi, that's called Melino, and my tribe is red. Everybody wearing red would be from that tribe. But, what would happen if you're in my household, for example, I'm born February, my wife is born October, my son is born in March. It means therefore, even though we're from one household, we are wearing 3 different colors. But that's another discussion. But this organization is the largest organization around the world. Everywhere, the rest of they go around the world. There's a branch of 12 tribes here. Since they're not as strict, they drink alcohol, they're not strictly vegetarians. Women can wear pants of 12 tribes. And the 2 most famous ones I can think about now are one, a certain Bob Marley, and the next one, Dennis Brown, and there are many others as well. So when I went to 12 tribe, finally, I observed a number of things. One of the things I observed, of course, was the green one was on top. I noticed chickens walking around. I noticed that there's a big boat there, so maybe somebody doing a bit of fishing. And there were several other things that I noticed. Yes, different colors. Right, so what I noticed the last slide here is that you can see the flags, you can see the Jamaican flag to the left from the outside, of course the Ethiopian flag. We don't see that kind of thing at Bubble Hills because they don't believe in Jamaica. One of the Rastafari'S told me that the Jamaican government is a code and that kind of thing, but this I guess gives some recognition. So the 12 tribes Rastafarian group is seen to be a middle class group, more so than others, and it has a very, very large number and large following, and it has helped to spread Rastafari, not only in Jamaica, but across the world. So, in conclusion, just to say that Rastafari has developed from Leonard HOWELL, and there are many places in Jamaica which have helped to shape it and make it what it is as a part of Jamaica's heritage. And from here, it has spread right across the world, even though Rastafari is a small section of Jamaica. Thank you very much. I hope you have learned something. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Harris. And if you have any questions based on Mr. Harris's presentation, I'm just going to ask you to just write them down, don't forget them. And when we get to the question and answer section, he will address those questions. All right? So, at this time, I'm going to invite Mrs. Before that, Simpson. She is president of the Historic Association of Jamaica, and she will introduce the presenter. Ms. Simpson.
Mrs. Lorna Bailey, JP, the Director of Public Education, Public Relations and Communication at JHT. Other members of the team who are here, ladies and gentlemen, black and beautiful students of Jamaica, pleasant morning to you. Clinton Hutton, CB, PhD, is the director of the Institute of Technological and Educational Research, ITA, at Miami University College, and a distinguished scholar at the P.J. Patterson Center for African Caribbean Advocacy at the University of the West Indies, Mona, the University of the West Indies. Hutton is an award-winning researcher and author with a distinguished record of research and puns on the Morant Bay Uprising, the Haitian Revolution, the culture and philosophy of enslaved Africans, African Caribbean spirituality, culture, art, music, and aesthetics, and issues regarding Caribbean civilization. And I'll add, he goes nowhere without his camera. Hutton is Hutton is the lead editor and author of the book Leonard Percival Howell and the Genesis of Rastafari. He's a noted painter and photographer. Scores of his works of an artistic nature have been published globally. Please put your hands together, everyone. And help me welcome our guest speaker for today, celebrating the proud legacy and heritage of Rastafari, Professor Clinton Hutton.
Thank you. Greetings.
Greetings.
Good to see you. All which I passed through the breadth of the education system, teaching primary, secondary, tertiary. Teaching is my redemption song. It's good to see you. So, I'm going to use a lot of slides, and could we dim that light there or turn it? I mean, I don't want it to destroy your imagery in your photography, but I would like the richness of the color of the slides to be visible to our guests, our students, and their teachers. The first slide that is there was actually a card, a little postcard, sold in the 1930s by Leonard Percival Howell. This card here. It's an image of Rastafari or Rastafari, who in 1930 was crowned Emperor Haile Selassie I, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God. And if you listen later to some songs, like Peter Tosh would say, elect of himself. Because if he is God, then he cannot be elect of God. He's elect of himself. Howell was born in the late 19th century, in the 18s. I think it's 1898. The same decade that my father was born. My father was born before him, 1893. Next slide. And there's another slide of having been crowned. He's no longer the prince, he's no longer the regent, Rastafari, but the king of kings. At his coronation, the 2nd of November, 1930, leaders from around the world, Ethiopia, heads of state, presidents, kings, foreign ministers from all over the world went there for his coronation. At that time, Africa, the only country that really was not conquered by the colonial powers of Europe, was Ethiopia. And to many people around the world, I've been seeing the newscast, the National Geographic, the Time, and Newsweek covers about this coronation that went on for about what, 6 days thereabouts. It began on the day that a very important person in Jamaica died. Alexander Bedford, and who became very important to Rastafari. So, Leonard Howell was not living in Jamaica at the time of the coronation. He was living in the United States. He was in the movement led by Marcus Garvey, called the Universal Negro Improvement Association. And there were other persons. So he came to Jamaica, began to preach about the divinity of Haile Selassie. Thing must be special with this country, Ethiopia, where the European powers are able to conquer, while the rest of Africa was colonized by the European powers. France, Britain, Germany, Spain, Belgium, colonized by the European powers. Take over. Before that, for over 300 years, that's why I'm looking at you now. Over 300 years, Africans were taken out of the continent of Africa and brought across the Atlantic Ocean into the Americas, South America, North America, Central America, the Caribbean. Over 20 million Africans reached this space. On the way over, some 6 million died and thrown into the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. And the wars that were made to conquer Africans, to bring them into enslavement, to work without pay, generation after generation, with slavery imposed on them, forced to eat human excrement. You didn't know that? That's why history is important. Working for over 300 years, generation after generation. So we are the descendants of those African people. And for the period of enslavement, which lasted up until 1888, that's when the last country in the Americas ended slavery. Which country was that? Brazil. Slavery ended in Brazil in 1888, 1 year after Marcus Garvey was born. Slavery ended in Cuba in 1876. There were people living in Cuba who were born in slavery up into 1970. Slavery ended in Jamaica in 1838. The point I'm making now, though, is that when this slavery ended, this over 300 years of enslavement ended, the European powers who enslaved Africans then went into Africa, divided up Africa, took it over. One case, for example, in the Congo, the Belgians took it over. And within 30 years, the Belgians killed 10 million Africans in the Congo. And that is how the colonization of Africa proceeded after 300 and odd years of taking out the productive people who can have children, people who are farmers, people who are teachers, people who work with metals and forge iron. The artists, people, therefore, their ingenuity, their labor, their skills at agriculture, tropical agriculture, were exploited to build Europe. Europe is what it is today because of slavery, slave trade, and the colonial subjection of Africa. So I am putting this background because out of this background came people who resisted slavery. They resisted slavery individually and collectively in different groups. And there are prominent names that you should know. Like Bookman Dudley, like Cecile Fatima, like Carlota, like Nani. We should know these names. Without them, we would not be here today. Antonio Massi. We should know these names. We should celebrate these people. They are the reason why we are here today. And along the way came a group of people taking their name from Rastafari to constitute a movement. And it is that movement that grew, and that movement is all over the world today. So, in South Africa, for example, there are over 3 million Rastafari. South Africans, Rastafari are all over the world. In Brazil, in Europe, in Australia, all over the world. And therefore, one of the legacies of Rastafari and their contribution to Jamaican heritage is that they gave Jamaica an identity that is globally recognized. That's one point we need to know and to understand. They gave Jamaica an identity that is globally recognized. Globe knows this. And there are reasons why the globe knows. And we can talk about a few of those. during the period of slavery and enslavement, every day the Europeans taught Africans that they were inferior, that they were made to be slaves, that they were intellectually challenged, that they were hungry. Even today, we have some people saying, you know what, you look good for your black girl. Have you ever heard that? Where do we get that from? Where do we get that from? Right? Are you black like sin? Eh? Anything too black, no good. You know it? All of that. We are saying that about ourselves. If you feel that way, how are you going to free yourself? Right? But there was a man during HOWELL's time by the name of Marcus Messiah Garvey. HOWELL belonged to his movement. And therefore, the Rastafari had a lot of Garveys in it to this day. In fact, as a group, the Rastafarians were the single most important factor in making Garvey a national image and an international image in the 20th century, the late 20th century and the 21st century. And you can listen to the songs. Listen to the songs. The Rastafari singers, they use Garvey's philosophy in their songs because they have a different idea as to how Jamaica should be and how their place in the world would be. And in doing that, they use a lot of Garvey's philosophy and opinion to shape their thoughts, to shape the concept of themselves. Very important. You need, who are you? Who are you? Peter Todd said, I am that I am. No matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. Huh? Gosh, Mali. So that is using Garvey's word. Africa for Africans at home and abroad. That Africa in the diaspora, Africa will work 8 more way, and Africa will remain on the continent, should come together and make Africa a superpower. A superpower economically, intellectually, militarily, and he argues that that is the only way other people in the world will respect that, wherever they are. If you are powerful anywhere you go around the world, people will respect you. Well, many Jamaicans say they are not. Right? And if a goat born in a pig pen, it is still a goat. Right? So that nationally you're Jamaican, of course. But if you're talking about racial, then that's a different thing. Right? So HOWELL started, and I can't go over this because this was said earlier, started to talk about Selassie in the terms of a divinity. In fact, he was in prison for it. In 1933, he was arrested, sent to prison for 2 years because he told the Jamaican people that their king is Selassie and not George of England. And the colonial authorities in Jamaica arrested him and placed him in jail because he's telling black people that their king is somebody who look like them, and that they must center their mind and their feelings and their emotions and their sense of being and their journey, knowing that their leader is not white. Their leader is not an enslaver. Their leader is against slavery. Their leader will take them to the promised land. And above all, their leader is God. But Garvey, before that, argues that he's God. If he's made by God, and in the flesh and the breath of God, if using the Christian way, then he's God. But Howell developed that further to say that they're not just the image of God. You see, that man over there, is God in the flesh. No, from the position of identity, from the position of feeling that you are inferior, to come to the position that is foolishness, that I am the highest example of my human expression is that of God, who looks like me. If you come to that conclusion, nobody can break you. Nobody can make you hate yourself. Nobody can tell you, even and it is done as when a boy sends to a girl, you look good, you're black. He meant it as a compliment. It is meant to be a compliment. Because the measurement of beauty is that of your abuser. So imagine the person who abused you, who castrates you, who force you to eat human excrement, who hang you by the rib from a iron hook on a tree to die, who cut off your feet, your arms. That person now is your model of who is good, of who is superior, of who is beautiful. And that is why Marcus Garvey says that the most important thing that the black community should do is to liberate themselves from mental slavery. He argues that while someone else might free the body, then let it out of prison, take off the chain off, only you can take the chain from off your body. That's what he asked. And and then Marley just spread it. Why? Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can zero for atomic energy. None of them can stop the time.
Lightning!
Right. So
Right, no.
So, for the Rastafari'S, like Harvey, Africa was central. You're nothing without Africa. Africa is central. Africa is your focus. Your humanity, your redemption song is Africa. For those at home in Africa and those abroad in Jamaica, in Brazil, in the United States, in Canada, in St. Kitts, in Trinidad and Tobago, in Guyana, everywhere. And it's not everybody to go back there. But that we need to build together. There and everywhere. but the focus must be on. If you are not focused, then you cannot free yourself from mental slavery. You cannot recover what was stolen, what was desecrated. The desecration of the mind. To the point where we reconsider people who are really. That's why I feel like that. Yeah, right? You have to know yourself. And so that is philosophy is self. The first principle is the first principle is self-discovery. And self-discovery can only happen if you free your mind from mental enslavement and to discover yourself in order to recover yourself. And so my sing. Some say we are see them walking up this the greatest thing is to know. What is the greatest thing? To know. Justin Hines says that the greatest thing is to know. Because when you know, you will act in your own interest. Not in act in over 400 years, you have to act in the interest of somebody else. And this is why history is important. That's why history must be school. History is not something that is past and gone. Not something that is past and gone. It is not like your DNA is past and gone. You know where it's coming from. You know how long it's that we inherited. Never used to teach anything more than it is people, it's the Pharaoh and people before them, and God raise these issues and campaign about them. Why do I? Because 468 years of colonial subjection and foreign rule of Africans in Jamaica. It's a drop in the bucket. The first civilization in human history in Africa. Africa is the birthplace of humanity. The first. I'm not saying it as a pose, I'm saying it as a fact. Right? The development of an intellectual culture proceeded there. And therefore, your history, your life, your story does not begin with your enslavement and colonial subjection. It's longer than that. It's longer than any other history in the world. Please stand for me. Well, we need to. So that is the man, Owen. That's Leonard Percival Owen. And he began this campaign in St. Thomas. And the importance of that is that before that, in the 19th century, there was an explosion in St. Thomas led by Paul Bogle. And there were several slogans in that uprising. One of them is color for color, skin for skin. And guess what? The early Rastafarians in the 1940s and even some beginnings continue to play. There was a concept, this is 1865, this is in the 19th century. There was a concept that they called black skin, white heart. These are people who supported Bogle. Black skin, that there are people who have black skin and white hearts, that they are white. And they have internalized their inferiority designed for them by the Europeans. Roast breadfruit. When I was growing up with it, Americans, black Americans, say Oreo. Some other people say coconut. You know, they dry coconut, they take out the skin. And an important Caribbean scholar and psychiatrist, Franz Fanon, wrote a book called Black Skin, White Mask. That is what God is saying, and the Rastafari continue. That is what liberty was. Mental things. The heritage, one of the contributions of Rastafari to the heritage is that. It's through this idea, this education, which says, and I mean, Peter said it in a song, can't play to you. They teaching you to learn in school that the cow jump over the pool. They teaching you to learn that the dish run away with the spoon, etc., etc. Right? And Marley has a song called Music Lesson. This says pretty much the same thing. Right? That the teachers about Marco Polo, the European, what about teaching us about man in Great Africa? These are in their songs. It's saying to our leaders in education and in government, we have to learn in school about ourselves. Because what we are and what we know about ourselves will certainly shape the way we act. The way we act, the way we make things happen is rooted in somebody else's views of us. Then that action will not in our interest, but in those people who design those views to shape our interiority, our inner self. Our inner self belongs to those who subordinated us. And that we need to break away from. So, the Rastafarians call themselves, they refer to their women principles. And that is coming from tradition longer than Rastafari. If you go in Kumina, if you go in Ival, if you go in Carnival, whether it's Jamtonu or the one in Trinidad or in Cuba, you will see people wearing crowns. And there are two reasons, but one is the idea of the notion of being rooted in royalty. That the highest expression of self and of accomplishment is royalty. Right? So, and of course, earlier you heard about food. Many Rastafarians don't cook with salt. And it's called ital because it is. They don't cook where that comes from St. Thomas. Because some of the earliest Rastafarians who first said were followers of Alexander Bedouin. And the second set who went to Pinnacle, most of the people who went to Pinnacle with letters, when they were driven out, the colonial police hired pubs and drove them out of St. Thomas. And they went to Pinnacle. Right? But they were of the view that, look, we are what we are. And one of the things people used to cook food for and even other people, African, Jamaican, spirituality, across the Caribbean and South America, when they cook food to feed the spirit, that food is cooked without salt. Food is cooked without salt. And the coming of people in Rastafari started to cook, not just for the spirit without salt, because salt will harm the potency of the ancestral spirits. Exactly. They began to consume food cooked without salt. And of course, I got nothing different. So we see what all the heritage would be contributed. Right? So, and Mr. Harris spoke of other things as well. The language, dread talk. I'm sure that probably there's no Jamaican know who if they don't say them here people say no. Jano. Jano. That is the contribution of Rastafari. One love, one another. That's Rastafari going back from the 1930s. In fact, Garvey used to end some of his speeches, and God wasn't a Rasta, but he was a precursor, a forerunner to Rastafari. Garvey used to end some of his speeches with the slogan, one love. And Rastafari took that, brought it from that time to this time, until one day man has a using two traditions, using the Rastafari tradition of one love, and a song that was written by Curtis Mayfield called People Get Ready. Garvey, Marley uses a verse or two and lines from Get Ready. And add to the concept of Rastafari and love. A big song called One, Let's Get Together and Feel Alright. Right? Good. So, dread talk, Irish. Irish is a word that is known all around the world. Meaning feeling good, feeling alright. Irish. So if you hear them, you can hear people. You feel irate? All over the world. All over the world at the people. sometimes when you travel, you will hear some people you meet upon who would cut some Jamaican down, and they are usually Rasta. So Rastas contributed to the linguistic ethos of Jamaica, and it's part of that heritage. It's so, right? The idea of preparation, we can't go into that all the time. Because with the Rastafarians in the 1930s, right? But we're not going to be able to do it. But the issue is that inheritance is the word. Each generation builds on previous generation. Really, I have passed the bottom and Rastafari has certainly contributes a lot of richness to Jamaica. A lot of richness in their musicians. Lee Scratch Perry, one drummer. Lots of poets like Mutama Rookies, and they're for a while Gene beat them. So, King, if you don't act kingly, you can't be king if you don't act kingly. You can't be queen if you don't act queen. You can't. You can't love self if you don't make the effort. Some of us find it hard to do so. So when Brett got years ago put up in his Christian church images of Christ on the back, some of the members of the congregation halted, walk out because God knows that. That's right. So a master in white. Right? Anyhow, let us see the rest of the slides. Let me stop talking for now.
That's rough. What do you got?
That's an early Rastafari looking like a revivalist from from 1957. This is a revival table presently, but the point is revival influence Rastafari. Let us continue. That's coming up. Go ahead. This is a HOWELL light. This is one of the man who used to be with HOWELL. And he's playing two drums with a Kumina player. Before until Count Ozzy developed what we now call the Naya Bingi. That is hearing song like Oh Caroline. Huh? These are some This is the coronation is revival the clear Selassie and God in 1930. We call it brother. This is the emperor, and over there is King Emmanuel, the founder of the Popo Ashanti, where he was in Jamaica in 1965. Go ahead. Oh, this is Clifton and Brother One. They get the view and it's doing it. And do all of that. That is a second generation Rastafari. One of my friends. But we call him Bonagees. He's the founder of the group of Rastafari we call the Naya Pinky. Pinky Order or the Naya Pinky. Go ahead. This is another Rasta. He is one of the most important person in the making of modern Jamaican music. Come out from Eastern Kingston. Right? Go ahead, please. And these are some of the persons who used to play with them and some young ones. They form a group called the Mystic Revelation of Rastafari. Right? And he took over from some count that don't die. He took over from Count as another Rastafari. So some Rastafari. In fact, it was these are great Jamaican music. Go ahead. Don Drummond. Martin McDonough was important to the music, like when he was from West Kingston. He was the one who shaped the philosophy of the right? Because he was from West Kingston, and a lot of people grew up under his guidance, like Al and Ellis. Right? They told you about it. Right? So the music, most of the singers in the music came out of this camp, and most of the musicians in the music came out of this camp. Go ahead. By the way, Marley had you know that Marley's for Gam?
Yes.
And the record label named Talk Gam. Yes. What was the first Gam? Was called Gam. That's where Marley, Baba, great. Alright, go ahead. Good silver. These are Rastafari, right? Okay, go ahead.
Chronic.
Go ahead, please. And they would have talked about Carol that I will talk about. But these are some people. So they need to start somewhere. These are people who were subjected, beaten up by the police. And some kids. Go ahead. He was one of them. He passed recently. Go ahead. She passed up to here. She was pregnant at the time of the car and she lost her child because of police. She lost her child. There again. They call her daughter Eve. And everything. Go ahead. He was one of them. And these were these are really nice photographs. Go ahead, please. Go ahead. And they reenact the coronation of His Majesty in 1930. That's thing that Rastafarians and it's so good. And then reenactment of the coronation of His Majesty. Go ahead. The crown is very important. This is that reenactment. And that is Prince Ermias, Selassie's grand aircraft down the road. And he also went up to Bubble here. Alright? And we have some books of Percy Mouth. That's the book from HOWELL. And go ahead. And another book is one of my paintings again. And another book. That's one of my paintings again. We'll finish here. Alright? Thank you.
I know that you must have some pressing questions for Dr. Hutton, but before we go into the question and answer section or segment, I want to invite the Honorable Priest Christopher Moran of the Bobberville Rastafarian.
Lord, Empress, Prince and Princess. I am the Honorable Priest Christopher Moran from the EADIC, Ethiopia, Africa, Black International Congress. I stand with our world founder, leader, President, God and King, Black Christ, Most Right Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edward, Melchizedek as defined in Hebrews chapter 7, Most High Selassie Jah. Formally, this Congress was formally found at 54B Spanish Town Road in 1958, the 1st of March. In 1957, Governor Youfoot, who was the then governor of Jamaica, they get the order from Britain Crown to give the people of Jamaica self-determination. That means they would dissolve the Jamaica government that was at that time, and then free the people of Jamaica, that they would form their own government. It is called self-determination. The ceremony was held in the 14th parish of Jamaica, same time at the 14th parish. So when the people were free in 1957 to have their own government, Honorable King Emmanuel, who was called Prince Emmanuel that time, or Bongo Eddie, he formed the EADIC, which is the government of the day. So when we were growing up, we hear they say that Jamaica government is the bogus government and Rasta government and the true government.
Exactly.
So growing up now, we understand why it is, because 57 people were free, no government. 58, 1st of March, King Emmanuel formed the People's Government, which is this one, EADIC. And then 62, when Britain Crown had said that the Rastaman form a government for the people, they said the two first cousins to form the 1962 Jamaica government that exists now. 58 is before 62. So if you did a government in 1958, 58, you wouldn't need none more. Whether 59, 60, 61, 62. So the government of the day today for the people is the EABIC, the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, through protocol. And this government has been registered from 1967-68 with the United Nations. Because the first United Nations contacted Hotel. And there, Honorable King Emmanuel was pronounced the crown champion on rights. So the people, we have a government here. So we are now situated from 54B Spanish Town Road. Congress was bulldozed down and burned down by the Jamaica Labour Party. Our church building were burned down. Our drums, our benches, which are for the tabernacle, we were beat off the Selassie. But the government of that day, which was the Jamaica Labour Party, and the police commissioner burned it down, and we now located in Bull Bay and the northeastern side of Warwick Hill. As was prophesied by Marcus Messiah Garvey, the honorable prophet. And Marcus Garvey prophesied there, first he said, look to the east when a black king will be crowned. Take him for our God and King. And he said, 10 miles out of the city of Kingston, on the northeastern side of Warwick Hill, the R man would rise. I mean, a man with the R symbol would rise. And Marcus Garvey said, when the R man rise, immediately drop X. As we know in school, when you get X in your work, in your book, wrong. And when you get the R tick, right. So Marcus Garvey said, immediately drop the X government. X saying and X doing, and rally towards the man of R. R is right, R is righteousness, R is repatriation, R is Rastafari. So we are here situated on the northeastern side of Warwick Hill, still carrying out the government of the day. Most High, Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. We are not here to beat down no other government, no one, but we are just telling it as a this. We're not adding on or taking on. That's what it is, what it is. Glorious opportunity that we get from learning. So when I went to Jamaica College, and we never get none of this. All our days going to school, we never get none of what, not human rights. And the human rights preamble, it said that the human rights to teach and disseminate in everything. Deal with education, churches, schools, anywhere. And all of my years going to JC, Marvally, Arley, Glenny Park Primary, and Tarrant Primary, we never learn no human rights. And if a tree does not get water, cannot grow. So if we as children, mothers, fathers, everyone, don't get our teaching of our basic human rights, that means that we are being held back by the government, whosoever it be. So I'm on this thanks for King Emmanuel, human rights and justice to all people. Even today, when they speak of human rights, nothing is being mentioned of King Emmanuel's name. At no time at all. And he is the only crown champion of human rights in the island and in the Caribbean. So you could see the hypocrisy and the blatant hold down. No matter who it is, every even a baby is the crown champion of human rights. Every 10th of December, that baby name should mention. So I give thanks for the government that King Emmanuel set, and we are here to bring forward freedom, redemption, and international repatriation for all black sons and daughters who desire to go home to Africa. Because as you know, Jamaica is not really a black person island. We know that we are here now, no. But Jamaica is an inheritance to the Taínos, Arawak Indian. Just as how Europe is for the white man, and just as how India, Far East is for the Indian, China for the Chinese, so Africa is for the Africans. Those home in Africa and us abroad in Jamaica, born and unborn. So that is what our father come with the Charter of Repatriation. Marcus Garvey said, the future for black people in the Western world is ruined. It might sound away, but it's true. So all the education we are getting must be towards the upliftment of Africa. As I said before, who desire in the West, no problem, it's good. But those who desire to come home to Africa and live as gods and goddesses, it's a free movement here. We are here to gather all who want to go back. And that is what our government is fostering. Freedom, redemption, and international repatriation with compensation. Because in 1834, Queen Victoria did granted £20 million sterling for the island of Jamaica. All slave children at that time did supposed to get £500 sterling and free transportation to take who want to go back home to Africa to fulfill the charter of emancipation. So every emancipation, 1st of August, when emancipation was just granted, after that 1st of August, the governor always proclaimed the emancipation charter at Spanish Town, where it was granted, and a hearse with some of the chains and the shackles that come off black man's neck, hands and feet, were drive around the city with some of the chains drawing at the back of the hearse to remind the people that they are free now and that they have the right of repatriation and compensation to go back home to Africa. Down the line, they cut it out. That means the remembrance for the people to remember it cut out. Then they put away 1st of August and put up 6th of August independence. It was before P.J. Patterson come out of office that Honorable King Emmanuel write unto him and tell him that he should bring back the 1st of August to the people, and he did it. At the voice of the Black Christ, he did it. So let us not forget. If we forget, we become like a tree without its roots. And we become like a people without the knowledge of our past, our present, and then we will not know our future. Say the Most High, Selassie, Jah. So we are in 10 miles as the Honorable will visit us. Our gates are open to everyone, each and everyone. At any time, you could come and see your government and even be a part and even come and spend the day, whatever. You would come and live until the day of repatriation, and you could come and visit. No problem. It's our government, not just Rasta. It's our government. So I give thanks for Honorable King Emmanuel, who set the charter and have the government here for the people. I just get the time check from the Honorable. Wrap it up. So I won't take no more time. I am sorry that we come late, that I come late. But we, next time, and we did also did want to bring the band that you could hear the night. I hear a lot of talk about other music, but the original music of the day is the Nayabindi music. The 1-2 heartbeat. So everyone have a heartbeat and it go 1, 2. If you see pulse 1, 2. If the blood not going to your vein, 1, 2. That is the order of the day. Nayabindi order. Now ja.
Thank you so very much for coming. All right, so for the question and answers, any questions you want to pose? Would you like to pose to the first presenter or to our main presenter, Dr. Kingston, or even to Honorable Priest Christopher Morant? Are there any questions? Is there anything that you need further clarification on, that you were clear on, and so on?
All right.
Could I have my microphone, please? All right.
Well, yeah.
Gentleman right here.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Greetings.
Greetings, sir. Yes, could you just identify yourself, give your name, and your representative organization, and then pose your question.
Greetings. Greetings. Yeah, greetings. First, let me identify the chair, Miss Bailey, and of course our guest speakers, including the honorable member of the Rastafari community. I am Peter Harvey. I'm here representing in a double mode of the Great Innswood High School and of course Yaad Radio. Earlier, Dr. Hutton made mention of Rastafari's impact on our identity, the inner being, you know. And he made several mentions of even the Rastafari locks and those early Rastafaris not having locks. But later, we find that Rastafari, even in this time or present time, is currently at the forefront of pushing that look of your locks and your natural identity. When did we come to that overstanding, Dr. Hutton, in terms of, because as we have identified that early Rastas did not have locks, but in today's concept of us looking into ourselves and really identifying, loving ourselves, when did Rastafari come up with that concept now and then manifest it in our locks, in us not identifying ourselves wearing makeups and all of these sort of stuff?
In the Caribbean, there are several traditions of wearing locks. For example, during the Haitian Revolution, voodoo priests and priestesses used to wear dreadlocks. So that's 18th century, and early 19th century. In Jamaica, the 1940s, the second generation of Rastafari, 1940s, 1950s, second generation of Rastafari. And especially those who were associated with the Nayabindi order or Ayabindi order, Bonagis, Bongo Wato. They influenced by two things. Influenced by the Nazarene vow from the Bible, but more practically influenced by the Mormon rising in Kenya, where many of those leaders of the anti-colonial struggle were wearing dreadlocks. And actually, images of some of them were carried in the newspaper. So I've interviewed some of those early second generation. And like Roy Ivory, for example, Roy Ivory started wearing his locks in 1952. Still wearing his locks. His locks is older than I am. Right? Asked him what inspired him to do that. And he said it was a Mormon uprising. Right? So there are two traditions. One will quote the Bible on it, and another would say the practical experience of seeing freedom fighters in Africa fighting for independence and splash on the face of the newspaper that inspired them. And in fact, I would say no, the majority of Rastafarians wear dreadlocks, and not all people who wear dreadlocks are Rastafarians. But it's the influence, not just in Jamaica, but it's the influence globally. I mean, ancient Egyptian priests used to wear dreadlocks. That's thousands of years ago. But in more recent time, it is the Rastafari who popularized locks globally. And so we see it all over the world. Although in this country, Jamaica, we're still, but I hope we finally move away from that, because they're stopping children from going to school. It's utter rubbish. Right? It's nonsense. The idea that if you hear grow up, it harbors lies, is repugnant. We should not put up with it. It's nonsense. We should never, ever put up with it. Right? Other people who hear just as long, no problem. It's bigotry.
Exactly.
It's a continuation of the colonial mindset. We should end it. The people should rise up again.
Are there any more questions for Don or Mr. Harris? Okay. Right, so you could just stand, say your name, what school you're representing, and then pose a question. Okay.